a man by the name of David Eckert was in southern New Mexico at a Walmart, and he was pulled over for going through a stop sign. All right, so far, so good. Unfortunately, he was then taken to the hospital and forced to undergo anal probes and forced defecation by the police officers because when they took him out of his car, he had clenched his buttocks, and that they thought that was somehow a sign that he had drugs hidden up there. They went through an X-ray of Eckert's cavity, which led to several anal probes, an enema, forced defecation. And of course, guess what? Doctors found no drugs. Cenk, I know you're going to have a field day with this one.
Yeah. Now, look, when they're going into your cavity, that's when the government might have gotten a little too large.
Yeah, you think?
So now, look, they got a warrant, to be fair, right?
Yeah.
So that's the upside of this. Like, how many of these stories have we done where they haven't gotten the warrant? I haven't done, like, I don't know the clenched buttocks thing. I don't know, maybe that's a policing thing near the border. And I know that sometimes they stuff stuff up there, right? And so I believe there's a proper procedure for this. My understanding was that you wait them out until they have to go to the bathroom. And then you'll either have your evidence or you won't. And if you got a warrant, I can live with an X-ray of his cavity, right? Okay, an X-ray, you got a warrant, you think there's a real reason, the judge gave it to you. Several anal probes, and then after all this, by the way, doctors sedate him.
Yeah.
And then they do a colonoscopy. Dude, there's nothing there, man.
Yeah.
You already checked 120 times. There's nothing there.
And they had to take him to 2 hospitals because the first hospital wouldn't even do the procedure because they didn't feel comfortable with it. So it tells you something's not right around here.
I can't even believe this is a real story. I can't even believe, this is like a story that I would imagine hearing about Saudi Arabia or Egypt or Kyrgyzstan. This is not the story that could happen anywhere in the Western Hemisphere. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this is okay. A judge gave a warrant for this stuff, and then the first, like you said, the first hospital wouldn't even do the procedure because they're human beings.
Yeah.
And then they went to another hospital where they aren't human beings, and they said, fuck it, let's do it to this guy. And then after they did all that stuff, they gave him a colon, like Cenk said, they sedated him and gave him a colon. They could just do this to you in America? The government, talk about big governments. So my jaw's on the floor. I can't get over this.
The part that's fascinating to me is the blend here of what the police want to do and what they legally can do, and then what the hospital has to do and what their ethical authority is. So obviously the first hospital, either it was just one doctor that said we're not going to do it, or the whole staff said we're not going to do it, but then they just had to get it to another hospital where then the rules are somehow different.
So anybody can get this can happen to anybody?
Apparently in New Mexico.
Yeah, if they think you're clenching your buttocks.
That's the other thing that we just sort of glossed over. I mean, all he did, there was no reason to believe he wasn't acting weird, wasn't acting like he was on drugs.
They didn't have a tip from an insider that this guy has drugs on him? Nothing.
He was leaving Walmart, and at the stop sign, he turned and he rolled through it. And somehow that became, we're going to sedate you.
And stick something up your colon.
Yeah. Right. Now, look, now they're in a little bit of trouble over this for technical reasons I'll explain in a second. Believe me, if they had anything more on him, they would release it. They would be like, this guy quasi-terrorist, or we got informants. No, they didn't have anything on him, right? It almost made me think, like, was this a personal grudge? Does somebody know this guy? They wanted to mess with him and stuff. So it turns out when they went to the second hospital in Luna County, number one, the warrant expired at 10 o'clock and might not have been valid in that county anyway.
Right.
And they did the colonoscopy at 1 a.m., so it's an expired warrant in the wrong county, and so they might be liable after all, which is good, because we don't want them doing this to people. Look, like I said, there are reasonable methods of waiting someone out if you think they've got drugs up there, which does happen from time to time. But this is not among the reasonable methods to do this to somebody over and over.
I would like to know that judge who granted that warrant. I would like to know what the evidence was that they put in front of him. Besides, we pulled him over going through a stop sign, and we think he's clenching his butt. And they go, okay, go ahead, search him. Are you kidding me? And then especially, this is really mind-blowing, is it not, Jimmy?
Look, so I feel like an anal probe, you're right, deserves a little bit more evidence than that.
Right.
Like the burden of proof has to be a little bit higher if you're going to be that invasive.
Like you should be able to get a hearing before they're allowed to stick something up your ass.
Right, and it doesn't mean you get to go home, right? Because like if they're worried you're going to hide the evidence, okay,
Right.
all right, maybe they bring you in front of the judge,
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah. By the way, this is not the first time this has happened, obviously, and it's not going to be the last time. Just in Texas in the last couple of months, there were three women had their vaginas
Yes.
searched because they thought marijuana was up there.
You know what's happened? That's it. We've gotten so used to the government steamrolling us.
Yes.
That we don't, like, they just feel like it's not even that outrageous anymore. Like in the old days, you would, like Jimmy said, your jaw would like drop and be like, what is going on? And now everybody's like, well, of course. I mean, you mess with the cops at all, or they look at you kind of funny, you're going to get stopped and frisked, you're going to get tased, you're going to get maced, you're going to get cavity searches, etc. I mean, like you said, Kyrgyzstan. Probably the good people of Kyrgyzstan, Jimmy, are like, wait, hey, man,
Yeah.
we wouldn't do this, right?
Wait,
Right.
but
and,
also,
and I thought the story when I first saw the headline, I thought it said Mexico. And
Me too.
And I was surprised they did it in Mexico. Then I heard it was New Mexico. I'm like, oh, so we did it. But you know what? In some crazy way, it became almost a little less surprising because we live in such a police state now that I feel like the cops think they can get away with anything.
They do get away with everything and anything. What don't they get away with? Are you kidding me?
What can't they do if they can do this?
I mean, honest to God, they've gotten away with everything. And I know I keep hammering on it every time I'm on the show, it seems like. But that police captain in New York City who maced those women for no reason, and his punishment was he lost some vacation days. If a normal human being assaults you, you go to prison. If we had any decency as a society, that guy would have been fired, his pension would have been revoked, and he would have been put in jail.
yeah. Well, that goes to why, I mean, we have these systemic problems where if they ever fire anybody, then it would be like you have to fire everybody, so they all protect each other. But, you know, we have something called the Miranda rights in this country, don't we? So if you're allowed to not incriminate yourself by your spoken word, then it seems to me they shouldn't be allowed to only 2 hours later make you unconscious,
Right,
and then
unconscious.
and give you a body cavity search. I mean, that seems just...
Jen, couldn't this guy call a lawyer? I mean, he had, what the?
No. Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's why we have, unfortunately, the two systems now, right? So, I'm sorry to the people of Beverly Hills that I keep using you as an example, but if you lived in Beverly Hills, A, they're not going to do this to you.
Right.
2, B, you're immediately going to get a lawyer, okay? You're going to ask for a lawyer, you're going to get one, okay? This poor schmuck's coming out of a Walmart in New Mexico, okay? And he ain't Walter White.
Yeah.
Right? He's not going to be calling Saul.
Right.
So does he have a lawyer? Who has a lawyer? I don't have a lawyer, right? And I don't know if he asked for a lawyer, but it doesn't matter. They're like, oh, shut up, dude, we got a warrant, you know? So, I mean, that's to Dave's point, it's systemic, right?
Right.
And so they all cover it for each other because they think, what, we all do this, right? And to your point, Jimmy, I mean, remember the guy who did the pepper spray on all the...
Pike, Lieutenant
John
Pike.
Pike, yeah. And he pepper sprayed everybody. Now, he was fired, thank God, right? But he got more in disability payments than the kids got for getting sprayed.
He got $35,000.
$38,000. The kids got $30,000 apiece.
Okay.
He got $38,000 for disability because he was psychologically damaged by all the criticism of him for spraying the kids.
And he didn't have to go. And he didn't have to go to jail.
Yeah.
He didn't have to go
but
to
that
jail.
goes to what I'm talking about the systemic thing, and it goes to all parts of government, not just law enforcement. Remember Lois Lerner, the IRS lady? She's been on administrative leave now for months. Whether she did something wrong or not is a whole other issue, but she's now being paid to do nothing this entire time while the investigations are still ongoing. So they all protect each other because that's just how the systems work.